Hello everyone, welcome back to the course Malnutrition and Community Health under Activity Sites. We are conducting this course at Activity College from the Microbiology Department. We have already started with this course and covered unit number 1 and most of the topics from unit number 2, that is nutritional deficiency disease. So, in this particular lecture, we will be talking about nutritional deficiency disease, known as IDD or iodine deficiency disorder. We will be talking about this disease, which causes, what are the symptoms or clinical manifestations associated with iodine deficiency disorder. We will also be talking about preventive treatment strategies adapted by the government to avoid the occurrence of prevalence of iodine deficiency disorder. So, in our previous lecture, we have talked about various nutritional problems. These nutritional problems include malnourishment. Malnourishment is basically the lowering of quality of food which is taken in or consumed by a particular individual. And this will ultimately lead to effects on community health as well. So, with respect to this, we talked about undernutrition, which is reduced quantity of nutrient intake by respective person, and also talk about overnutrition. It basically talks about overindulgence of particular type of. In this particular unit, we also talk about various diseases such as protein energy malnutrition, vitamin A deficiency, zinc deficiency, cirrhosis, iron deficiency, anemia. So, in respect to protein energy malnutrition, we talk about two major forms, that is Kwashiorkor, which is protein deficiency, that is specific calorie deficiency in the body, whereas we talk about this, which is loss of subcutaneous fat, or you can say a condition of prolonged hunger that arises due to prolonged. Next, we talk about vitamin A disorder, which is the main cause of preventable night blindness in many young children. We also talk about zinc deficiency, which is a major form of enterodermatitis in many young children as well as adults. We talk about fluorosis. When fluoride is deposited in excess, it can lead to either dental fluorosis, which leads to weakened teeth, and it can also have non-dental fluorosis, which is skeletal fluorosis, that is deposition of fluoride in the bones and the skeleton as well. So, with respect to all this, we've seen a number of diseases are included as deficiency disorders. And we've also talked about various symptoms associated with these diseases, as well as prevention strategies associated with these diseases. So, in this class, we'll be mainly talking about the last disease, which is IDD, that is the iodine deficiency disorder, with respect to causes, symptoms, prevention, and treatment. So, after watching this part of the video, we will basically try to understand what is IDD, how does it arise, what are the important causes of IDD. So, as you all know, IDD stands for iodine deficiency disorder, meaning there will be lack of iodine in our diet. Now, iodine, as you all know, belongs to the halogen group of elements, and this iodine is very essential for your health. This is a micronutrient. Micronutrient, as in, it is required in very small quantities in the human diet. So, you can say that this iodine is required in very trace amount, but even the trace amount is very important. And this, why is it important? It is mainly important because it is a constituent of hormone. We all know that thyroid hormone exists in the T4 form, T3 form. To convert the inactive hormone into the active form, you need this iodine. That is why it plays an important role in physical and mental development of the individual. So, iodine is one of the leading causes of preventive. Iodine consumption basically is one of the leading causes of preventable mental retardation and brain damage in the body. Like I said, if there is iodine deficiency in the diet, it will lead to growth retardation. Growth retardation will mainly be associated with mental sickness or brain damage. So iodine deficiency not only leads to mental disorder but also leads to your prolonged diseases which are associated with the thyroid gland, that is goiter. It can also lead to hypothyroidism and creatinism. And other than that, we'll see a last section of disorders that are associated with this deficiency of iodine acid. So iodine deficiency, like I said, one of the single most common cause of preventable mental retardation and brain damage in the world. Deficiency will have an immediate effect. That is, you can immediately make out by looking at the child. Okay, there is some problem associated with this child because see, when up to the age of 5, the child's learning capacity is basically very high. Whatever you teach the child will learn very quickly. So if this learning is very slow, then the doctor makes or the clinician makes a guess that iodine may be deficient. That is why this problem of mental retardation is occurring. Or slow learning is occurring. But it also affects the women's health and quality of life in community as well as economic practice. As you all know that this element is required in very trace amount. How much is it required? So the normal requirement of iodine for normal average human being per day is only 150 mu grams per person. So like you all know that mu grams is basically a very small amount of iodine. You can say on the tip of a needle, how much iodine will fit, that much iodine is required daily by a person. So when person consume diet which is lacking sufficient quantity of iodine, it will lead to a large number of deficiency disorders. There is not only one manifestation, you can have more than one manifestation as well as hormonal problems associated with your iodine lack. So iodine deficiency comes because of all this comes under a major public health problem. And this problem does not only persist in India, but it persists throughout the world, mainly in your underdeveloped or developing countries. And this iodine deficiency is mainly going to affect your young children as well as mainly pregnant women as well. So this is a list of different iodine deficiencies. So as you can see, it affects your, we go with order from top to bottom. As you can see, first and foremost, it will affect the brain function. It will give you a constant feeling of tiredness, insomnia, depression. Next, and the foremost important function is going to be that if there is iodine deficiency, it is going to affect the gland. Now, because of deficiency of iodine or hypothyroidism may arise, that is, the thyroid gland may have a very enlarged appearance to compensate the need of the cells. Right. So this will lead to a condition of goiter. Other than this, respiratory and swelling complaints are also common. And pressure and tightness of neck is again one of the major symptoms because of enlargement of the gland. Whenever we talk about your coronary diseases, if iodine is deficient, it will lead to increased cholesterol levels and powerlessness. When you talk about your gastrointestinal disorders, may lead to large number of metabolic problems, increase quite very, you can say, high increase in weight and developmental disorder. The skin associated problems are also quite common. The skin becomes very moist and is sensitive to cold. And then in pregnant women, again, it may lead to a number of complications if there is deficiency of iodine in the diet. The rate of miscarriages, developmental disorders in fetus, as well as mental retardation, cretinism is very, very common iodine deficiency disorder in lactating as well as pregnant women. So, to define IDD, what can be said? It is not a single disease, it is basically a spectrum of health consequences. Meaning, if iodine is lacking in the diet, it will not give rise to only one problem, but it will give rise to multiple problems occurring at the same time due to inadequate intake of iodine. And this condition will become adverse with time if the iodine deficiency persists for a longer period. And this will lead to problems in not only children, young children, but women mainly. The problems such as abortions, stillbirth, mental and physical retardation in young children, deafness associated with this. All these disorders collectively come under the category of iodine deficiency disorders, which are abbreviated as IDDs. Now we'll see the clinical manifestations or the clinical features of this disease. So after watching this part, you should be able to make out what are the clinical symptoms associated with. So here you can see there's a table of spectrum of iodine deficiency disorder. So in case of women or pregnant women, if there is deficiency of iodine, it may lead to fetus abortion, meaning the risk of stillbirth or congenital anomalies, meaning the child may have some deformed organs or the development of the child will not be proper. There is again a very high risk of prenatal mortality. That is, after being born, the child may not survive for a very long time. Also, criticism is again endemic in certain areas. Criticism is also going to affect your brain function as well. The next deficiency disorder is going to be neonatal goiter. Now, this mainly arises due to deficiency of iodine, and due to this deficiency, thyroid gland is going to be mainly affected in the neonates or the newly born children. So, growth retardation, mainly mental retardation, going to be seen in such children who are suffering from neonatal goiter. Also, there is increased susceptibility of the thyroid gland to nuclear radiation. Right. So, if this goiter is not treated, then it will lead to you can say hyperthyroidism in these neonates as well. Then, after children, we talk about children from the age of 1 to 5. If they are suffering from goiter, in adolescent goiter, you can say it is a subclinical feature of hypothyroidism, where again iodine deficiency leads to enlargement of your gland. Now, because of this, again, growth is very retarded, and you can say that the mental function or the cognition of that person is quite low. As well as not only mental, but the physical activeness of the person is also very less. The person will be quite lethargic, as well as stature will be quite small because of retarded physical development. Also, there is increased susceptibility of the thyroid gland to nuclear radiation, which is similar to your neonatal body. Then in adults also, if iodine deficiency persists, it can lead to adult goiter related complications. First and foremost, like in your children and adolescents, it basically lead to hypothyroidism, impaired mental function, spontaneous hypothyroidism in the elderly. Again, next, which is very important, is your induced hyperthyroidism, meaning if you are supplementing iodine for very large quantity, then instead of getting hypothyroidism, you may suffer from induced hyperthyroidism. Again, increased susceptibility of thyroid gland to nuclear radiation is number four. So now let us see the consequences of these from of IDDs. Meaning, if the person is having iodine deficiency, then what are the major symptoms which are going to be seen? First and foremost, you will see goiter, which is enlarged thyroid gland. Goiter is very easily identifiable also in patients suffering from thyroid hormone deficiency. Mental retardation is the next common symptom. Then you have hypothyroidism, which is again your enlargement of thyroid gland. Cretinism in children, and also due to all these, there is increased risk of morbidity and mortality in infants and neonates. Meaning, even if they live for a very even if morbidity improves, mortality rate is going to be very high. Here you can see in this particular diagram, this is the case of goiter. You can see in the neck region there is a enlarged or a enlarged thyroid gland which can be seen, and to its side is a photo of cretinism. So you can see the symptoms associated with cretinism, that is the lateral eyebrows are very thin, the hair is very sparse, it is very coarse, dry. Then there is edema, that is below your eyes or your under eyes are basically swollen, and this is basically known as pre-orbital edema. The face becomes very puffy and dull, and the person has dry skin as well. So basically, there is a lot of risk factors which may lead to deficiency of iodine, mainly which include the following. First and foremost, low dietary iodine, meaning whatever you are consuming does not contain iodine in proper quantity. Due to this, what is going to happen? You are consuming low iodine. Obviously, your body is going to have a deficiency of that particular iodine, and it will lead to hypothyroidism mainly. Then, due to deficiency of selenium, also you can have potential risk of suffering from iodine deficiency disorder. In pregnancy, what is happening? The requirement of iodine increases to a greater extent. That is why, again, this is a risk factor for developing IBD as. Then exposure to radiation. If a person is continuously being exposed to either UV light or infrared light or any other form of radiation, nuclear radiation per se, he or she may be at a higher risk of developing iodine deficiency disorders as such. The next is increased intake or plasma levels of nitrogens, meaning there are certain agents which are available in nature. These agents basically are known to increase the risk of developing iodine deficiency disorder. One example of goitrogen is calcium. If there is increased amount of calcium, the intake of your iodine will be decreased, and due to this, it may lead to goiter in certain patients. Other than this, if you are a male or female, or gender is basically going to affect fertility. So IDD has a more common prevalence or a higher prevalence in women. Other than this, smoking tobacco, drinking alcohol also has a higher rate of, also these people may have a higher rate of developing IDD. If the person is consuming oral contraceptives, then you have reduced prevalence in these users. If a person is consuming or being continuously not consuming exactly, but being exposed to chemicals such as percolates, halocyanates, again it is going to make a person more susceptible to iodine deficiency disorder. Also, iodine deficiency disorders are going to be affected by age of a person. Depending on the age, the spectrum of disorders may vary. If we talk about epidemiology, iodine deficiency is one of the most, or you can say single most common cause of preventable mental retardation. Preventable meaning if the food is fortified or made, iodine is made available, then this mental retardation can be prevented in children. So globally, more than 2 billion, that is over 38% of the population living in 130 countries are estimated to be at a risk of IDD. 38% or 2 billion people is a huge amount. And approximately, you can say 260 million people in Africa are at a risk, of which you can say 150,000 are affected by pollution. So, as you can see, iodine deficiency is very common throughout the world, very prevalent also. That is why you need to take care that the food is basically fortified with, so that your mental retardation as well as food retardation and cardiac associated problems can be prevented. If you see the map of here, you can see that iodine deficiency disorder is mainly common in your uh, developing countries. This is common in your North South America, African countries, as well as the Asian subcontinents as well. Right? So let us move on to the further data, which is according to WHO, a goiter rate of about 5% constitutes a public health problem. So if in a particular area the occurrence of goiter is very high, it will lead to public health problem. That is, there might be deficiency of iodine in the food which they are consuming over there. So basically, a profile analysis of different studies in different countries showed that babies who are born to iodine deficient mothers, out of all those babies, approximately 3% suffer from mental disorders and physical damage. 10% show moderate mental disorders, and remaining 87% show some or the other form of intellectual disability. Like I said, mental retardation is going to be one of the major factors, which is going to be major factors or major infestation of iodine deficiency. That is why uh, pregnant women as well as children's food should be supplemented with proper quantities of iodine as such. Now, we talk about the prevention and control or treatment measures for IBD. After watching this part of the video, you should basically be able to answer all the prevention strategies for IBD as such. So like you all know that prevention is going to be much better than the curing option. We need to take this problem serious one and very seriously try to supplement our food with iodine. So iodine is one of the most significant environmental problems, and iodine is basically essential for thyroid hormone. Now the problem here is the iodine cannot be synthesized by the body, so you have to consume iodine from outer source or diet only. Where can this iodine be found? Mainly leaching of iodine, that is collection of iodine from soil. Leaching away of iodine from soil is mainly due to erosion or heavy rainfall, deforestation, overgrazing, clearing, leading to loss of iodine from soil and water. So now, if leaching occurs to a great extent due to all the following reasons, what will happen? Iodine will be lost from soil as well as water. And if you grow crops or seeds or plants in the soil, these plants or these plants of this water will not have you can say appropriate or amount of iodine not be transferred into the food as such. So due to this, iodine content will be very low in water. Also animals and the plant which originate from such iodine deficient soil. So basically what is happening in the geographic location is such that iodine is deficient in the environment. What you need to do is you need to add iodine artificially into. Other than this, there are three major strategies which have been adapted to prevent iodine deficiency disorders. First one being food fortification. Food fortification basically means the whatever food you are consuming, you are going to add to this food, or going to supplement this food with iodine acid. So this strategy is very, very effective for long-term prevention and control of a large number of iodine deficiencies. And this again can be used because this is very cost effective as well. The major question is how do you fortify your food with iodine? The answer to it is very simple. You have to use universal or basically everybody is carrying out universal salt iodization. Salt is very easy to iodize. So iodization of salt for both humans and livestock consumption is essential. Make sure that you consume iodized salt in your diet, and due to this, large number of problems can be prevented. So using iodized salt in industry so that the population consumes this particular iodized salt as well as even if you are consuming salt on a regular basis, salt make sure that the salt is iodized as this can basically have a self-sustaining basis of prevention. Next, after fortification, the next strategy can be supplementation. Now, there are certain areas which can be rural where you can say transportation and is very difficult. Getting small salt producer and basically you do not get all the iodine salts which are available in your large metropolitan cities. So small salt producers are basically available. So instead of using salts, you can also use different formulations. For example, you can use iodized oil capsules and direct administration of iodine solution can also be carried out. This is mainly carried out using U-balls, iodine at regular intervals. If salt and oil consumption is not possible, then you can also use iodine solution to supplement the water in that area with certain amount of iodine. Other than this, the most important one is your health education. That is, you have to make people aware of the importance of using iodized salt in their diet. You have to try to create awareness in rural areas so that these deficiency disorders can be prevented very easily. Mainly, what you have to do is send up seminars, programs with the help of either government schemes or NGOs, especially in your high risk areas, so that you can inform not only the pregnant and lactating women, but also in schools of such areas so that infants of that particular high risk group areas are not infected by viral or associated disorders as such. As well as in these programs, what we need to do is you need to advise the people to use iodized salt for household consumption. Other than this, you have to make sure that the people know what type of food is going to be rich in iodine. For example, sea fishes, scallops are important foods which are going to help in iodine consumption, then consume these foods, as well as another strategy is avoid vitamin rich food. For example, calcium rich food can be avoided in high risk areas of IBD disorder. Surveillance technique is basically set of techniques which is used to basically monitor distribution of adequately iodized salt in communities. So you are going to check these surveillance techniques basically involve surveys for which if a rural area versus where there is high risk of IDDs, then you can go to these areas and check or make sure that iodized salt is being consumed or not. Other than this, in this image you can see severe case of iodine deficiency disorder. In lower part, you can see the height of the women is quite small. The doctor is saying therefore the creatinine suffering women as. Now let us talk about the measures and impact of sleep control. So our end aim is basically to have a reduced iodine deficiency disorder. So if you have to reduce iodine deficiency disorders, the following steps should be taken. First and foremost, you have to iodize the salt. So whatever salt is being produced in the country, that salt needs to be iodized. The next step is going to be make this salt available to all the people around the communities, even if they are located in further away areas or non-accessible areas. This increased accessibility of iodine salt basically lead to reduced IDD. Other than this, you need to promote the use of iodized salt. This can be done by the government by making sure that you're advertising or promoting the use of iodine rich containing salt as well as making seminars, posters, or organizing different welfare associated seminars with different NGOs as well. Follow all this, what will it do? It will basically lead to reduced iodine deficiency disorders. So if iodine deficiency disorders are reduced, what will happen? There will be basically be a reduction in prenatal mortality. That is, if a child is not suffering or given sufficient amount of iodine, the death rate associated with iodine deficiency disorders will decrease rapidly. It will also increase the productivity associated with that person, and it will improve the cognitive function or the mental stability or the mental wellness of health of that particular. Now, government also has taken a lot of actions in with respect to iodine deficiency disorders. So, universal salt harmonization is one of the sole strategies to address this problem. So, and for this, what they have done is distribution of iodine salt in remote districts at a very subsidized or at a very nominal rate. Again, you have to arrange various social campaigns such as iodized salt social marketing campaigns and their implementation so that these use of this particular iodine salt increases this preventable iodine deficiency disorder can come into play. Other than this, monitoring of iodine salt, entry point and vigilant practices. That is, you have to make sure by testing these salts that they are iodized or not. Other than this, you have to evaluate the IDT status or the deficiency status through surveys, or you can associate with various academic institutions as well as different NGOs to have integrated mini surveys for vitamin A, iodine salt, and deworming. So you can integrate different deficiency disorders, basically analyze if any deficiencies occurring or not. Other than this, iodine salt warehouse construction in various parts of the countries is also being carried out. So, what are the recommendations? Basically, a monitoring system for quality control and quality control mechanism should be established. See, the strategy over here is very simple because treating these patients are very simple. So, if you have salt which is iodized, this problem before arising only can be handled. That is why monitoring before the disease goes to a greater extent is going to be very important. Also, whatever salt is being produced and being delivered should be checked for its iodine content, and this monitoring should be carried out not only by the producer but also as a part of the routine health assessment. In this only we have to check if the salt iodine present in the salt is stable or not. Also, the national nutrition policy and strategy should be implemented very properly, which includes problems and quality assurance. Basically, we're trying to check if the salt is going to have iodine in proper quantity or not. So this was all about your iodine deficiency disorder. You have to solve one assignment on the same. The assignment has two questions. The first one is explain the symptoms of iodine deficiency disorder. And the second question is describe the prevention strategies for IDD. You have to write these on in your notebook, upload it, and then upload it on your Google Classroom, or else you can email it to me on the following email ID. Right. So in your next lecture, we will be starting with a new unit, which is going to be mainly anthropometry. In anthropometry, we will be talking about the different measurements or how the different measurements, such as height, weight, can be directly associated with the nutritional status of an individual. In this, we will be talking about the different ratios, such as head circumference, body mass index, mid arm index, fat. How is the fat ratios, so, how is all this going to affect the nutritional status? How is all this used in assessing the nutritional stability in a particular area or community? So, this is it from my side today. Thank you so much. Have a good day.